सो बेसिकली आपके पेपर्स में दो तरह की सीक्वेंसेस हैं, ठीक है. नंबर वन इज़ एन अरिथमेटिक सीक्वेंस, ठीक है. नंबर टू इज़ अ क्वाड्रेटिक सीक्वेंस एंड द थर्ड इज़ नीदर, ठीक है. अब इस कैटेगरी में हमारे पास बहुत तरह की सीक्वेंसेस आती हैं, ठीक है. एक्सपोनेंशियल भी होती है. अभी ये टर्म्स हो सकता है आप लोगों को समझ नहीं आ रहे हो कि मैंने क्या लिखा है अरिथमेटिक, क्वाड्रेटिक, बट दे विल ऑल मेक सेंस इन अ मिनट. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to write down a couple of numbers, ठीक है, and judging by the pattern I want you guys to tell me what the next couple of terms are going to be, ठीक है. So here's the first example. बताओ, can you guys tell me what the next few terms are going to be?
9,
Very good. 9, 11, 13. Excellent. So basically the pattern that you just was कि we're consistently adding 2 to get to the next term, ठीक है ना. 1 से 3 पे कैसे गए, we added 2. 3 से 5 पे कैसे गए, we added 2. 5 से 7 पे कैसे गए, we added 2, ठीक है. And that is what consistently going on. Okay, let's do another example. Let's say you have अपना 6, 9, 12. Can you tell me the next couple of terms? Actually, just the 3 terms will be enough.
15, 18,
Yeah, 15, 18, 21, ठीक है. So let's do another example. बताओ.
3,
3.
yeah,
Think again.
11 minus 8.
How do you go from 11 to 8? What do you do? You subtract 3. Okay, how do you go from 8 to 5? You subtract 3. How do you go from 5? I mean, what should you do now? You should subtract 3, which will give you 2, and then you should subtract 3 again, which will give you minus 1, and then subtract 3 again, which will give you minus 4. ठीक है. अच्छा. बताओ. What do you think the next term should be?
19 plus 3 हो रहा है.
ठीक है. Plus 3. Okay.
नहीं, लेकिन 20
नहीं. Close.
square है, 25.
Yeah. What are these numbers called? They're called perfect squares. ठीक है. Why do we call them perfect squares? Because they are square of an integer. 1 can be obtained by squaring 1, 4 can be obtained by squaring 2, 9 can be obtained by squaring 3, 16 can be obtained by squaring 4. So following this pattern, my next term should be what? My next term should be 25, and then the term right after this one should be 36, and then we should have 49. ठीक है. What do you call this? You call this perfect squares. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब I want you to study the pattern closely and then tell me what the answer is going to be. ठीक है. Don't jump to conclusions. Take a minute to answer. Doesn't matter. Think. Take your time.
24.
Okay, very good, Divya. 24. What about the next one?
32 plus 12 plus 10 होगा तो 34 होगा.
34. Very good.
और plus 12 होगा इसमें.
So that's going to give you 46. Alright, did you guys figure out what the pattern here is? No? Chalo, koi baat nahi. Here's what the pattern is. How do you go from 4 to 6? You add
Plus
2. How do you go from 6 to 10? You add 4. How do you go from 10 to 16? You add 6. How do you go from 16 to 24? You add 8. How do you go from 24 to 34? You add 10. Can you see what the pattern is? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So following the same pattern, I should add 12. ठीक है. I'm going to give you guys a similar example. Take your time, but I want everyone to get it right. Yeah.
Twenty-nine, 30, 43.
29,
30,
30,
43.
43. Did you figure it out? Mariam, Kantesh, right? मिला आपको पैटर्न मिला? 5 से 8 पे कैसे जाओगे?
Plus 3.
Plus 3. 8 से 13 पे कैसे जाओगे?
Plus 5.
Plus 5. So what are these? How do you go from 13 to 20? plus 7. So 3, 5, 7. Following the same pattern, the next term that you should add should be 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, and then the next term that you should add should be 11. And then the next term that needs to be added is going to be 13. Okay, so let's do 20 plus 9. What does that give you? That gives you 29. Let's do 29 plus 11. That gives you what?
30.
That gives you 40. Okay, what's 40 plus what's 40 plus 13? That is 53. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब इसमें से कुछ सीक्वेंसेस ऐसी हैं जो कि अरिथमेटिक सीक्वेंस हैं और कुछ ऐसी हैं जो कि क्वाड्रेटिक सीक्वेंस हैं. अब we're going to study both of them, what they are, and then we're going to decide that which one is which. ठीक है. So let's first discuss about an arithmetic sequence. So what makes a sequence an arithmetic sequence is this, that the difference between two consecutive terms is common. ठीक है ना? And basically if you want to remember this in two simple words, so those two words are common difference. ठीक है? And we represent this with the letter small d. Now the next is a quadratic sequence. Now what is a quadratic sequence? Let's see. Quadratic sequence is a sequence where the difference of the difference is common. Okay, let me show you what this means. Just hang in there. Difference of the difference is common. And we call this bracket mein D2. Okay, so what makes a sequence an arithmetic sequence? That you pick any two terms, okay, and the difference between two consecutive terms, difference between those two terms should be common. So let's have a look at this first sequence. If I pick these two terms, 1 and 3, इसमें क्या difference होगा? नहीं, difference का मतलब minus का अगर हम करेंगे तो 2. 5 और 7 ले लो तो क्या difference होगा? 2. कोई से भी दो terms ले लें हम, difference क्या आएगा? Difference हमेशा 2 आएगा. So that means this is an, what kind of sequence is this? This is an arithmetic sequence. ठीक है? Why? Because an arithmetic sequence is such where the difference between any two consecutive terms is common. Alright, what about this? 6, 9, 12, 15, 18.
Plus 3 is the difference.
Yeah, 3 is the difference, right? So that means this is also an arithmetic sequence. What about this? Difference same है. ठीक है? You can think of it this way. Okay, in order to get to the next term, are we consistently adding or subtracting the same value? And the answer to that is yes, we are. Okay, which is why this also qualifies for an arithmetic sequence. Also, let's have a look at this. How do you go from 1 to 4? You add 3. How do you go from 4 to 9? You add 5. How do you go from 9 to 16? You add 7. How do you go from 16 to 25? You add 9. And then you add 11. And then you add 13. Now let's see what happens if I calculate the difference of the difference. 3 और 5 में क्या फ़र्क होगा? 5 और 7 में क्या फ़र्क होगा? 7 और 9 में क्या फ़र्क होगा? 2 consistently 2 होगा. So that means this right here is a quadratic sequence. ये जो है ये क्या है? This is difference of the difference. What do we call this? We call this difference of the difference. Alright, what about this? ये सारे difference हैं. अगर मैं इनका मज़ीद difference निकालेंगे तो वो क्या आएगा हमारे पास? तो वो 2 ही आएगा. इधर भी हम निकालेंगे तो क्या आएगा? तो वो 2 आएगा. So that means these three are quadratic sequences. ठीक है? अच्छा ये ज़हन में ना बिठा लीजिएगा कि हमेशा 2 होगा या ये हमेशा 3 होगा या 4 होगा. ठीक है? It can be anything. If it's same throughout, that means it's an arithmetic sequence. So I want you guys to copy this quickly. Okay. So basically अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ कि इस sequence की निकालो 20th term, ठीक है? So you guys won't be able to do it right now because you don't know what the formula is. I mean, one way would be that you guys start writing them down till you get to the 20th term. अच्छा, what kind of a sequence is this? This is an arithmetic. ठीक है ना? This is an arithmetic sequence. अच्छा. So what we're gonna do is, अब जो हम formula पढ़ रहे हैं, that is used to calculate the nth term. ठीक है? Where n can be any value. It can be the 20th term, it can be the 15th term, it can be the 40th term, whatever. ठीक है? And this formula, what we're about to learn, is only applicable for an arithmetic sequence. ठीक है? Quadratic sequence का भी है, but that we'll study later. So the formula for calculating the nth term or the general term of an arithmetic sequence is this: a plus n minus 1 into t. ठीक है? This will all start making sense in a couple of seconds. A is the first term of the sequence, ठीक है, n is the required term. First we're going to leave it as n only, okay, and then depending on whatever term we want we're going to plug in the value. जैसे polygons में sum of interior angles का formula होता है ना, n minus 2 into 180. n क्या होता है? n depends on the number of sides. If you have a 6-sided polygon, आपको इसके sum of interior angles चाहिए तो आप n की जगह 6 रख दोगे. Similarly, if you want the 6th term, so you're going to plug in 6 in place of n. And what is d? d is the common difference. Okay? So let's try and come up with the general term of this arithmetic sequence. So what's the first term here?
1.
It's 1. Very good. So 1 plus, remember n minus 1 will remain n minus 1. Alright? What is the common difference? Alright, I want you to think of the difference as this. What is the term that we are consistently adding or subtracting in order to get to the next term? And that is 2. So I'm going to plug in 2 in place of the common difference. Alright, don't just leave this here. Make sure that you simplify it, meaning that you open the bracket and see what can be added or subtracted. So you get Tn equals to 1 plus 2n minus 2. So Tn equals to 1 minus 2 कितना हो जाएगा? So the general term is 2n minus 1. Alright, once you've reached this point, don't think that this is the end of the question. Although it is, but just to be sure, just to check your answer, here's what you do. If I plug in 3 in place of n, and if this is correct, my answer should be what? It should be 5. Why? Because the third term is 5. Okay, let's see if that's the case or not. What's 2 times 3?
6.
That's 6. And what is 6 minus 1?
5.
It is 5. So far so good, right? But just to be sure, let's say I plug in 5 in place of n. Okay, and if this is correct, my answer should be, let's see if that's the case. 2 times 5 is 10. And what's 10 minus 1? That's 9. So that means this is absolutely correct. Okay? Alright, let's do a couple more examples, okay? And then we're going to study the general term or the nth term of our quadratic sequence. Okay, so that was the first example, now we're doing the second. Okay, tell me the next couple of terms.
13.
13, are you sure?
15.
Are you sure it's going to be 13?
No.
10,
Plus 3. 4. 5.
14, good job, mom.
7.
Very good.
20.
20. We're consistently adding 3 in order to get to the next term. Okay, now let's try and find out the general term of this sequence. And remember to always write down the formula. A plus n minus 1 into d. Okay, जब तक याद ना होता रहे, make sure that you keep writing down the formula. Okay, so Tn equals to, what's the first term? Very good, 5 plus,
Minus 1.
very good,
D is 3.
excellent. So Tn equals to 5
Plus 3.
plus 3n minus 3. Okay, remember कि 3n से ही multiply होगा and 3 minus 1 से भी multiply होगा. So Tn equals to 3n, and what's 5 minus 3? That's plus 2. Okay, don't get carried away here. Make sure that you check your answer. If I plug in 4, if I plug in 1, 2, 3, 4. If I plug in 4, what should my answer be? If this is correct, it should be 14. Let's see if that's the case or not. 3 times 4 is?
12.
And what's 12 plus 2?
14.
So far so good. Let's just plug in 6. If I plug in 6, my answer should be?
18 plus 2, 20.
20. So this is absolutely correct. Okay? I want you guys to copy this. I'm writing down a couple of sequences on the board. I want you guys to figure out their general or the nth term. ये copy कर लिया था आप लोगों ने? नहीं? कर लो. I'll write it down again. Don't worry. 1, 3, 5. Yeah, go ahead. So I'll write them here. Okay? First, I want you guys to figure out the missing terms and then the general term. So, go ahead.